who does he pick for VP? Some of my intel, and it's well sourced, suggests that he absolutely positively recognizes that he needs to close the gap with women, and that, you know what, that the base loves him, but if you're going to expand beyond the base, you may need to, nip a few off the middle, shall we say. So how does he do that? Who gets him there? And we've been talking and we've been very candid. I appreciate your willingness to humor me with my candidness, because I've been super candid. I'm just thinking, how do we get the best person for the best policies? The best policies. And trust me, it's not Joe Biden. And it's not Kamala Harris. And it's not Michelle Obama, should she be thinking anything. It's got to be somebody who is tough on border, who is tough and when it comes to law and order, who believes in lower taxes, the onshoring of dollars, who actually wants to grow our economy, not shrink it, not just pay off, the cronies that are in the lobbying department, but actually see meaningful growth for the future and keep us stable in the world. So assuming all of that, if you want Trump to take it all the way to the White House, how do you start to see more than a 5-point difference in these polls? Because I think he needs to win big. He needs to win really. It's like in Argentina, and they never thought Milei had a shot. And then Milei, he pulled ahead and by 12 points. So it was overwhelming. This guy was going to win. That is what Donald Trump is going to need. So who does that for him? Well, he's got some thoughts. He didn't name everyone here, but there are some names that you should hear. Let's take it away.
When will you announce who your VP is?
Not for a while. I mean, we have so many great people in the Republican Party, but not for a while.
Well, what criteria are you using to identify who your running mate is?
Always, it's got to be one thing. It's got to be who would be a good president. I mean, you always have to think that because, in case of emergency, things happen, right? No matter who you are, things happen. It's got to be number one.
Who is your running mate?
Well, I have a lot of good people. We have a lot of really good people.
So you haven't decided who it is?
I have a lot of good ideas, but I haven't. And there's no reason to do that quickly. So you haven't told
that person, you're my person?
I speak to everybody. I called Tim Scott this because a lot of people like Tim Scott. I called him and I said, you're a much better candidate for me than you are for yourself. When I watched him, he was fine. He was good, but he was very low-key, et cetera, et cetera. I watched him in the last week defending me and sticking up for me and fighting for me. I said, you're a much better person for me than you are for yourself, because for himself he was low key. For me, he's been a real tiger. He's been incredible, and others have too.
So maybe it's Tim Scott.
Well, it could be a lot of people, but it was interesting. I was watching Tim. I've been watching, for a while. I watched him campaign as a candidate, but I watched him over the last 2 weeks. As you know, he endorsed me, fully endorsed me, gave me a beautiful endorsement. And he has been really strong in terms of that. No, but that has nothing to do. I don't want anybody to take even any inference, but it's incredible. Kristi Noem has been incredible fighting for me. She said I'd never run against him because I can't beat him. That was a very nice thing to say.
What was the story that your team reached out to RFK Jr.?
It's a false story. No, it's a false story.
You never reached out to RFK Jr.?
I like him a lot. Nope, never happened.
Is it fair to believe?
So you heard a couple names there. You heard Governor Noem, and you heard Tim Scott. I'm looking at the live chat. I just weighed in because Don's making the point. A good one. Well, of course he's talking about Tim Scott because he's got the South Carolina primary coming up. Yep. Like, he's no fool, right? I mean, this is a guy who had the Apprentice show. He's just going to tease it along. So the reason I wanted to show you that is, one, because you're hearing from him, but also to show you that there's more to it than the names that you're hearing. He also has Nevada coming up right after South Carolina. So like I said, no fool, right? Tim Scott, Noem, he's like, they're doing a great job for me. They're doing a great job. So he's kind of sort of dangling the carrot out there. So do even better and maybe you'll get the gig. I actually am starting to think it's not really going to be. By the way, they'd both be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I think they're both terrific. They'd both be great. Tim Scott just got engaged. Governor Noem is she would be fantastic. We've talked about playing sort of the secondary role. I think she'd be very good at that. She's very straightforward. She's a good speaker. She looks great, all of these things. But I have just a little feeling, and again, some intel, that one, it's going to be a woman, and two, the woman is probably going to be somebody that's going to have, I'm talking mass appeal, right? Like, who is the woman that relates to everyone? Soccer moms specifically. And so you need somebody. That was the beauty of Sarah Palin, right? Like, Sarah Palin got soccer moms excited, and they needed that. They really needed that in the Republican Party at that time. So who's the equivalent these days? You don't necessarily want a Palin type, in that you don't want somebody who's a huge personality, because before you say Carrie Lake, and she's great too, and she's a big personality, it doesn't always mesh with a personality like Trump's. You've heard me say that, right? You need somebody who kind of, falls in line, so to speak, can get along, and you don't feel like is hogging the spotlight all the time. So I'm kind of thinking, just saying, some names that I'm hearing include Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We've talked about her, right? I think actually you guys were some of the first to actually mention it, because she has been super loyal to Donald Trump. She's a straight shooter. The media, actually, they won't tell you this, but they do like her because she was in the White House and she was press secretary, and she'd call you back. She was good at her job. Her dad's been around politics forever. She is the governor of a state. So she to me kind of fits the whole America's sweetheart, loyal to Donald Trump, but clearly her own person as well. That, in my estimation, would be the woman to watch right now. I also think people are talking about a woman named Katie Britt, I guess, out of Alabama. Not a lot known about her, and Donald Trump might enjoy that because of the big splash, but she's young. And again, as I go back to what women are going to like and what women are going to relate to in terms of who the candidate is, I think that stuff matters. Marsha Blackburn. Think about Marsha Blackburn, the senator who is from Tennessee, and by the way, has already beaten Taylor Swift. Thank you very much. Taylor campaigned against her in Tennessee, and yet Marsha won anyway. She's a grandmother. She's an attractive woman. She's been in politics for years, super competent. So that's another possibility. And Elise Stefanik. I know you guys love Elise. Elise Stefanik, I think, just really showed her strength when she questioned Claudine Gay, as well as the woman from MIT and the woman from UPenn. Two of them have lost their jobs. How the heck the MIT lady is hanging on for dear life, I don't know. But hey, Steve, new team member. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just saw that cross. Good to have you here. Good to have you here. But I just think all of these women are exceptional, right? They have big futures in politics. The question is, who does he go with in this moment in time if he wants to peel off some of the middle? I know some of you guys are like, he doesn't need it. I'm just saying, don't take anything for granted, right?